6 o'clock. Let's get started. Welcome everyone to the Canandaigua Town Board meeting for May 17th, 2021. If you could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Lisa, are you doing the roll call this evening?
I am.
All right, can you do us the favor?
Yeah, we have Councilman Gary Davis,
Present.
Councilwoman Linda Dworzak,
Present.
Councilman Terry Fennelly,
Present.
Supervisor Kathy Mennicott,
Present.
Councilman Jared Simpson.
Present.
I'd like to direct everyone's attention to written communications, which were attached to the agenda, which you can find online. Before we go any further, I'd like to, first of all, welcome everyone to the town board meeting. And I'd like to take the opportunity to wish a happy birthday to some of our town employees. May 24th, Mike Boyce. May 24th, Chris Jensen. May 25th, Terrence Robinson. June 13th, Tyler McMahon. And June 18th, Kate Silverstrom Jensen. Before we proceed to the privilege of the floor, I just want to remind everyone to familiarize yourselves with the rules of procedure, which can be found online. I think I have, that should get you there if you don't already have it. I put it up in the chat. I know we have a couple of people that want to speak this evening. You have 3 minutes and you can speak on matters of public concern once during the meeting, and we'd be happy to hear from all of you. If that's not enough time for you, you're always welcome to send more communications, which would become part of the official communications, as well as speak at public hearings on the matter. So I believe we have John Landrigan would like to speak. If you're not here right now, we can accommodate you at another privilege of the floor.
Kathy, I don't see unless it's as a different phone number or something, so.
Okay, we can hear from John later if he wishes to be heard. We have no priority business, no presentations. We have continued public hearing on proposed text code amendment and seeker determination of non-significance for Town Code Chapter 152-9, which would update language pertaining to the town of Canandaigua Parks and Recreation. I know we had some changes to this, the wording, so I don't need, do we need to start this hearing anew, or we're okay because we're continuing? Anyone want to weigh in on that?
You need to reopen.
All right, so
Reopen.
we are reopening. Can I have a motion to reopen the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on reopening? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And would anyone like to be heard, remember, on this particular topic? And those of you who can see everyone can help me out if someone's raising their hand. I don't see anyone.
Kathy, I don't see any hands raised for this. I did just get a message of somebody that would like to be heard under privilege of the floor, maybe after we close this. So.
Okay, we could do that. Our next privilege of the floor will be after our reports. Okay, I don't see anyone. Can I have a motion to close this public hearing?
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion to close the public hearing carries. Thank you, everyone. We have reports of town officials and department heads. Jim Fletcher, Highway Water Superintendent.
Wait a second, hang on.
You're good, we can hear you now.
Okay, I'm good. Sorry, I thought I was muted still. Right. So submitted my report. I'll point out a few things that materials are short and expensive, long delays receiving products, especially steel and pipe. Those will be continued throughout the year with no improvement in sight for any of that stuff. We did receive a little over 100,000 additional funding from the state of New York for CHIPS, Extreme Weather Recovery, and Pave New York, which is nice because we haven't had a raise in 8 years. But it's also discouraging because the price of everything is more expensive. So it's not like we're doing a whole lot more with $100,000. The water service, the water project is moving along fine. The second tank is up, constructed. We're just waiting for the sealant to cure before we start filling that. And that's about the highlights of my report. Any questions? Okay.
All right, thanks very much. Pam Post, our assessor, would you have any updates for your report?
I did submit the report and I don't have any additional comments unless there's
Okay.
any questions.
Any questions? Thank you very much, Pam. Is our town historian on? Or anyone from the, maybe, no, not seeing any. All right, town clerk, Lisa?
There's nothing.
Thank you. Anyone from planner? I don't see our planner on, I don't think.
Oh, Kathy, I don't believe our planner's on.
Okay. Doug, town manager.
I provided my report. Nothing else. Happy to answer any questions.
Seeing no hands on that. Supervisor, deputy supervisor, the monthly financial reports are attached, including revenue and expense reports, et cetera. I have no further reports for this month. All right. Reports of committees, boards, and commissions. Finance.
Nothing further, Kathy.
All right, thank you. Planning, Terry.
Just one thing, we had our Public Works Committee meeting a week ago, well, a week and a half, May 7th. One of the topics that we discuss on a monthly basis is the current status of our transfer station and the county's vision moving forward. And right now, it seems that the county's vision is a little bit blurry. They're still trying to get the path forward for us to view and make some decisions for ourselves. So I know, Kathy, you were trying to push forward on this a little bit for us. So any effort is certainly appreciated. So
I will do my best before the end of my term to try to move it along. Like I said at the meeting, it's been my frustration in the time that I'm here that I feel like we haven't necessarily gotten any closer. So I'll do my best.
thank you. That's it.
Mr. Simpson,
I have nothing at this time.
Councilman Davis on the ordinance. committee.
Yes, the ordinance has been working on some of these changes for the codes for several months, and some of them are going to be sent through to the town board next month to set a public hearing in July. Then we're going to, start our meeting this coming Wednesday, talking about a couple of them briefly, and then moving into the Ridgeline study.
All right, Gary, thank you. I don't see Mr. Euler or anyone else from planning. I don't see Mr. Robinson or anyone else from zoning. Please speak up if you would like to speak on their behalf. Environmental Conservation Board, anything?
No.
No. Citizens Implementation. I don't see anyone from there. Parks and Rec, Mark McNeil, or anyone else? Nope. Special Events Committee. Been pretty quiet. I'm hoping that will change soon for the benefit of everyone. Agriculture Committee. Seeing no hands, we'll go on. Drainage Committee. Nothing as well. Okay, we have our next privilege of the floor, and I think someone would like to be heard.
Yeah, Kathy, Steve Vanderwall had asked to be heard. He just messaged me here.
Yep, I see him. There you go. Go ahead, Mr. Vanderwall.
Hi, everybody. As I said, my name is Steve Vanderwall. I'm a resident of Penfield, New York, and I'm a cannabis business owner and advocate. I'm the founder and chief executive officer of Tiva Naturals, the executive writer and the co-host of the Cannabis Cum Laude podcast, and a cannabis industry consultant. I was the co-founder and former deputy director of Rock Normal, which is the Rochester chapter for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, which is a 501c4 nonprofit focused on cannabis education and policy at the state and local level. Our group helped shape the current version of the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act that was recently passed by New York State. Last week, I caught an article in the paper that said the cannabis opt-out clause is being discussed in the town of Canandaigua, and some members of city council are still on the fence. Believe me when I tell you that I hear your concerns, whatever they might be, whether it's the fear of rising crime rates or the stigma associated with dispensaries or on-site consumption lounges, or the fear of an uptick in cannabis youth cannabis use. Whatever it is, I hear you, and I'd really love the opportunity to talk to you with at length about these issues in whatever format you deem appropriate. I'm here tonight to offer myself as a resource to City Council as you navigate the upcoming discussions around cannabis in Canandaigua. I'm not tied to any political organization or trade or association or anything like that. I'm just a small business owner and advocate with a deep and experiential understanding of how this industry works and the tremendous benefits it brings to communities that allow it. I believe that New York has the opportunity to be the beating heart of the cannabis industry, with the Finger Lakes region as the nucleus of craft cannabis. We have seen what craft beer and wine has done for this region. Adding cannabis to that mix will bring additional jobs, tax revenue, and a surge in agritourism that will surely enhance this already amazing area. So please feel free to reach out to me to discuss any issues. I can happily sit down with all of you and address any questions or concerns you may have. I'll leave my email in the chat box. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I just want to point out, Mr. Vanderwall, that the article that you read was about the city of Canandaigua. So the town of Canandaigua is a separate entity, just in case that had any bearing. But thank you for your input. And we're going to be talking about, at least I would like to see us talking about maybe some educational forums on this in the near future. So we'll post it on that. So thank you very much. All right, anyone else? I think Ms. Cassie, wish to be heard.
I don't think her microphone is working. I
Right.
have you
Ms.
unmuted.
Cassie, we can come back to you. We'll go to Ms. Evans.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would like to speak in support of Resolution 2021-110, which was brought up at the last meeting. It's for establishing a public hearing for a 6-month moratorium on new applications for subdivisions. This moratorium only pauses new applications and will not have an impact on projects that are already in progress. There are 2 important reasons for this moratorium. One is to resurrect and fine-tune an existing draft regulation begun in 2017 for the protection of ridgelines and view sheds, which was tabled indefinitely in June of 2018. The other reason is to allow the committee currently reviewing the conservation subdivision regulation to finish their work. A moratorium is not an unusual step for a municipality to take. In fact, New York State's Division of Local Services produced a document in 2010 entitled Land Use Moratoria, intended to be a useful guide for community officials. It states, and I quote, "A land use moratorium is a local enactment which temporarily suspends a landowner's right to obtain development approvals while the community considers and potentially adopts changes to its comprehensive plan and/or its land use regulations to address circumstances not addressed by its current laws and possible adoption of more permanent, comprehensive regulations." The town currently has guidelines for development on ridgelines, but these do not give the town any authority to force a developer to protect the scenic views which town surveys have identified as important to residents. The work begun in 2017 on the Ridgeline Protection Law needs to be restarted. Good regulations take time to develop and enact, as they should, and include public review and comments. We must have strong laws in place that will protect our natural resources. Let's be clear, this resolution is not a vote on a moratorium. It is a vote on a public hearing to get community input for a moratorium. I strongly urge the board to vote in favor of a public hearing on this moratorium as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Ms. Cassie, do you want to try again? Go ahead, I can hear you now.
You can hear me? Okay. I have a couple of concerns about a group of the resolutions that's on the agenda for tonight. There seems to be a group of resolutions that, like Resolution 2021 designation of the town manager as the accounts administrator, and some others that basically seem to be part of an ongoing flow of things that the town is doing to basically erode the position of supervisor and give all of the power to town manager. And I'm curious also, there's a resolution 2021-112 allowing budget transfers. And it would appear, according to the resolution, that there was a budget transfer that exceeded the $5,000 amount that was set by a resolution in 2018. And now since it's already been exceeded, we're fixing that problem by doing this resolution, allowing that transfer that exceeded the 5,000 amount. I think what we've done is we've eroded too many checks and balances. And it seems like we're taking all of the power away from the supervisor and giving everything to the town manager. And that, why even bother to have a supervisor anymore? The supervisor, in quotes, should be the supervisor who has to approve things, sign off on things. And I'd like to know if there was some event or occurrence that was initiated to change the designation, something that happened that made it difficult or whatever that initiated this action. The town manager isn't an elected official. It takes away any checks and balances for the signatory authority and further erodes the supervisory position. So I would like to know the reason behind this series of resolutions.
All right, thank you. I'm sure Doug can address these as they come up, if he so wishes. Okay.
Kathy, we have 3 people with their hands raised here: Adeline, Rod, and Kyle.
Thank you. I muted myself by mistake. Okay. Ms. Rudolph. You're still
I
muted.
just had a quick question. I don't know if that's working. Am I good? Okay.
You have a question, but I can't guarantee we can answer it.
So I was looking for an update. I've been going door to door recently, and I've had a lot of your constituents asking regarding the RSM land purchase that was suggested earlier. They were looking for an update regarding that and where that stands at this point, if that's still a possibility after the Tishner Point property did not go through. So I was just looking for an update on that and where we were in that process. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Kathy, we have Rod DeRue.
Okay. Mr. Giroux, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yes,
Go ahead, sir.
yes. You hear me?
Yes, I can.
I talked about this a while back. It's nothing serious. But I'm going to the Farmington Town Board meeting on the 25th about this also. I recently found out that Dave DeGear retired. And I was talking with him and Jim Fetcher about town shore going up to my property here. Apparently it wasn't working. I guess now it's not. And I'm living on borrowed time on my leach line. So I'm just trying to figure out when I can expect to see town store. I mean, 500 feet from my corner. That's the concern I have right now. I mean, if it rains, the stable gate retention pond is higher than my property and it rains, I can't use my drains. That just flows into my property, man.
Okay, thank you. I don't, just so everyone knows, a privilege of the floor is generally for statements by the public, not necessarily question and answer. So I would suggest anyone that has questions for a particular issue to reach out to those individuals or any one of you town board members as well. Okay, anyone else?
Kathy, we
Mr.
also have
Marsh?
Kyle Gage. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Marsh. And then Mr. Gage.
I'm clicking, asking Mr. Marsh to unmute, but it's not.
Mr. Marsh, can you unmute yourself? You unvideoed yourself, but
Maybe go to Mr. Gage and come back to
Yep.
Mr. Marsh.
we can do that. We'll go to Mr. Gage for now, and then Mr. Marsh, when you get back, we'll. Mr. Gage,
Yes, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. I would just like to reiterate what Robin Evans said and urge the town board to pass resolution 2021-110, which would set a public hearing for a moratorium on the subdivision application. I believe, and many in our community believe, that the protection of ridge lines and scenic views from development should be of prime importance, and it is the board's responsibility to enact regulations implementing such safeguards. A moratorium such as this would not impact current projects already approved, and instead would provide the needed time for the town board to put in place an ordinance to protect potential at-risk sites where development applications have not been submitted. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gage. Mr. Marsh, do you want to try again? Great. Does not seem to be unmuted. So you can come back at the next. Or if there's someone else that wishes to be heard, you can take them first. I don't see any more hands at this time. Mr. Marsh, when you're able to unmute yourself, we'll get you back in. Okay, we're going to move to privilege of the, I'm sorry, to resolution and motions. If Mr. Marsh is able to unmute himself, we'll take him out of order if everyone's okay with that. All right, resolution number 2021-097, secret determination of non-significance and adoption of a text code amendment to Town Code Chapter 152.
Move.
Second,
Any discussion?
I had a couple just, little housekeeping things.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Oh, I thought I fixed that. I'm never told that I'm not loud
I-
enough.
I can hear you, but maybe you can move a little
Okay.
closer.
So page 150, item JJ, should that read cabins? And this, I don't, this is page 150 of the agenda. So I believe, so item JJ should read cabins. I don't know what canes are, but if we're renting them, so cabins. And then I just had a question on page 151. It's 152-9 and it's item B. And it says if applicable, and I'm just wondering, does that need to be in there? And this is item B, where it says persons intending to sell or distribute alcoholic beverages, if applicable, shall have a permit or be associated with a permit from the New York State Liquor Authority. I would assume it's all applicable. So those are the only two. I don't know if that changes the meaning of that section, but to me, it raised a question. I'm just not sure.
Shouldn't be there. I think the meaning stays the same.
Yeah.
You may be correct that it might be superfluous, but I don't think it changes the meaning.
Okay, because that just makes it seem that, you know, if they're gonna sell or distribute, if it's applicable, they shall have permit. So those are my only two comments.
I'd like to remake a comment that I made in the finance committee. My thought is if we're going to have the town board approve every single permit, I'd rather see an inclusive checklist that we just ensure everybody does rather than filling the town board with lots of resolutions about people's alcohol permits. So I understand we might be doing this as a temporary measure to see how it goes, but I would encourage us to not bring that kind of administrative work to the town board for approval every single time.
And Linda, I was of that same feeling. I do understand the other side of that, which is that the town board, especially with a new ordinance, would have the final say, especially in the new stages. And there are other concerns which might come up about other functions going on that might not be appropriate to have alcohol, but I do share that as well. But I'm willing to give it a go and see how this.
As am I.
works.
I'm just hoping that we can not keep our agenda cluttered up with that type of stuff if we can.
Yeah, and I would like to see most of this as a checklist before it gets to the town board, obviously. The town board shouldn't be figuring out if all this stuff was done ahead of time. So I assume that's going to be done, and maybe that needs to be spelled out at a later point.
And
I
we
think
should-
it's okay at this point. Otherwise, the people are going to hear the town board constantly saying, was this done, was this done, was this done, rather than just giving
Right.
it to us up front. Okay, would anyone else like to be heard? Excuse me.
I'd like to say that, you know, it wasn't the intent of the ordinance committee on that because we sent it back to Parks Committee because they're the ones that instigated it or, you know, set it up to begin with, a lot of it, making the changes. And so they worked on that and then it came back to us. And so I would hope that we could get it successfully passed, you know, relatively soon because the season is upon us for the parks.
Yeah, Gary, I'm not going to withhold my approval. I would just like us to, at some point, come up with a good checklist where we don't need to bring every single approval to the town board.
Okay.
But I do like the idea, because I get what you're saying, Linda, because I think it goes from watching the finance meeting, the clerk's office will be the clearinghouse for everything. And then we just are the last set of eyes, the rubber stamp, not a rubber stamp, but the approval, the last set of eyes looking at it. Because it kind of, it's the buck stops with us if anything bad, anything were to happen. If anything were to happen, you know, heaven forbid, us seeing the final approval, we would have to sign off on that. We'd have to sign off on the approval. So I'm okay if it goes through the clerk's office, if the checklist comes through, and then even if we have a listing, I don't see us having too many of them, but if it's just a quick review and then we give it our approval. But I
guess-
I don't want to be looking at paperwork either and checking all the boxes.
Well,
that's a,
Well,
Go
I
ahead,
would
Linda, I'm
think
sorry.
that permit form, once that's established, would contain those kind of questions. And those boxes would be checked off. And
right.
when it comes to us, it's really just an endorsement on our part.
And my concern is if we did decide to disapprove one, because obviously things should come to us for a decision. If we decide to disapprove one, but not another, are we being somewhat arbitrary? And we should have a clear set of criteria that people need to satisfy so that they could have a permit. It isn't necessarily a decision. It's giving them the option to have the permit, but they need to have the things that we're asking for, the insurance, et cetera. So that's really my point.
And I agree with that. I think it's probably something we have to see how it goes.
And I'm fine with that.
All right. Any other discussion on that? Mr. Marsh, we'll be back to you in a minute after this resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Do we have a, does this have to be a specific local law on this, or is it just amended ordinance?
Kathy, and I apologize. Lisa, did you catch who made the motion and second? I missed it.
It was Terry Finley and Linda Dvorak, but I wasn't sure about Linda's.
Yeah, I think I seconded it.
Okay.
Seconded. All right. So before we go to the next resolution, I'm just going to pop out and let Mr. Marsh be heard and privilege of the floor. Go ahead, Mr. Marsh.
I hope you're hearing me this time.
I am
Thanks.
hearing you.
Yeah, thanks very much for your patience. I'd just like to say that I very much concur with what Robert Evans and Kyle Gage said earlier, and I find no need to repeat the suggestions that they made. I'm a former member of the Conservation Committee, as they used to be called in the old days, and very supportive of this resolution 2021-110 and what it's intending to achieve as far as giving the town some time before things move ahead too quickly to reassess both ridge lines and agricultural preservation. I recall very clearly when the ridge line guidelines were proposed and accepted by the board. I think Casella was the town manager at that time, if my memory serves me correctly. And I hailed that as a great opportunity because of the hills around here and the view shed that they create. That's extremely important as far as maintaining the country atmosphere that the comprehensive plan says that's desired. So I think with the development pressures that are on, and we obviously live in a very attractive place to a lot of people. That's good. It also means let's look things over before things get out of hand. We have to consider also the fact that we have the opportunity also to preserve diverse habitats as well. So I think this gives us the time, and I support it as written. I was very disappointed that May 17th, it was called for in the resolution itself, there would be a public hearing as an objective, and it didn't happen tonight. But I'm hopeful that the board will reconsider and set a new date and move ahead with this resolution as written. Thanks for the time, and I apologize for my touchscreen adventure earlier.
All right, thanks
Good.
very much, Mr. Mark.
Good luck, and bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, we'll now move along to new resolutions. 2021-111, acceptance of the monthly financial reports.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-112, acknowledgement and authorization of budget transfers by town manager.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Kathy, if I could just share my screen here real quick, since there was a
Sure.
comment about the adjustments. So this is the actual adjustment register detail. And you see that there was a $200 donation that was made. The adjustment is actually in the amount of $200. The adjustment does not exceed $5,000. The adjustment was a $200 donation that was made to the town of Canandaigua, and thus to keep it balanced was a $200 increase in the expense. So you have a $200 credit and a $200 increase in the expense there. So it's a $200 adjustment.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Doug. I had checked that already too and noticed that it was just somebody had looked at it incorrectly.
All right, anything else on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-113, budget adjustment authorization for Canandaigua Consolidated Water District.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-114, acknowledging changes to the 2020 budget report.
So moved.
Any discussion? Doug, I don't know if you wanted to be heard on this one.
Not unless there's a specific question.
Nope, not by me. Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-115, authorization for town manager to execute agreement for cloud communication system.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-116, acknowledge receipt of grant funds and direct the return of a transfer for Canandaigua Water Tank Storage Project.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-117, authorization for town manager to close municipal waste reduction and recycling grant capital project.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-118, authorization to increase fund balance appropriation for maintenance in Lakewood Meadows Drainage District.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-119, authorization to increase fund balance appropriation for maintenance in Fox Ridge Drainage District.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-120, accepting agreement with Pine Bank Cemetery and authorizing town manager to execute agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-121, authorization for town manager to renew contract with Direct Energy for the purchase of natural gas.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-122, request to hire summer staff for parks.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution 2021-123, accepting the resignation of park staff member.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-124, appointment of full-time parks laborer.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Adoption of amendment to procurement policy.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-126, designation of town manager as town accounts administrator with Canandaigua National Bank.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-127, budget adjustment authorization for 2021 highway general repairs.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-128. Request to accept amended 284 agreement for the expenditure of 2021 highway monies.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-129, appointment of transfer station laborer.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-130, authorizing requests from Crane Hogan and Colasino Industries to extend the completion date for Canandaigua Consolidated Water District Capital Improvement Project.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution 2021-126, designation of town manager as town accounts administrator with Canandaigua National Bank.
Kathy,
That was a duplicate.
that was-
Oh, I was gonna say,
that
it
was
sounds
something more
familiar.
on the agenda.
All right. All right, next we have approval of town board meeting minutes, April 19th, 2021. Unless I missed something.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion, any deletions, additions, etc.? No? All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion to approve meeting minutes carries. Next, we have payment of the bills. Lisa,
We have utility abstract dated April 29th, 2021, totaling $7,838.42. The general fund was $4,338.79. Capital projects was $1,801.93. The water districts was $1,279.70. Custodial was $418. The abstract dated May 17th, 2021, totaling $525.57. Sorry about that. The general fund was $171,543.34. The highway fund was $89,234.26. The capital projects was $213,540.14. The lighting districts was $1,119.57. The water districts was $31,088.26.
thanks, Lisa. I know that's very difficult to do. I appreciate that you're doing it instead of me. Can I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We have our next privilege of the floor, if anyone would like to be heard. I don't see anyone heard. At this point, we have other business. I believe. Doug, did you want to be heard on this topic?
Sure, and I need to ask for some direction from you guys on one more topic that wasn't on the agenda. But so there's three things I want to touch base with you. Actually, I've got, if you don't mind taking these out of order, I've got Mike Bentley joining us for the inclusive playground. If we could start with that.
Of course.
That's okay with everybody. Mike is joining us here this evening. I just want to, I'm sorry, Mike, you there?
Yes.
Okay. You just want to share with you, I'm going to share my screen for a quick, because I want to just touch base with you and talk to you about the inclusive playground. And it's, you know, we were all there for the ribbon cutting, and it's such a cool opportunity for us. But there's one of the things that I think that we need to officially consider. The group, we know that there's a group that we've been working with that's called Think Big. Is that the right? Think Big Inclusion in Motion. Mike, that's the correct name. I just want to make sure I've got the name correct.
Inclusion in Motion, Dream Big, yes.
Dream Big, thank you. They have recommended, they're the group that's raising the money. They have recommended a name for the actual park. And Mike, do you want to touch base on that? We'll start with that, and then we'll talk about finances.
Sure. So I know, and I promise I won't break down tonight, for those of you that were there. It's, as many of you have met MJ, for those of you that were there, that inspired us to do something big. And so we were in conversation over the last 3 years, for those of you that have been on here, and thank you all for your support, more importantly. So it was, we wanted to call the playground Motion Junction, and we said maybe even call the park Motion Junction. And MJ is, ironically enough, Motion Junction is his initials, where it gives everybody the opportunity to be in motion, no matter what that may be. So we we tossed the idea to Doug and we're here tonight. So I would ask that you consider that as the name of the park that where MJ has brought us today to be able to be in this position to even discuss the park. So that's the ask.
So I just want to touch base and piggyback on a couple of things there. So obviously, the land on the east side of Outhouse Road was donated to the town of Canandaigua by Richard P. Outhouse, and that is the Richard P. Outhouse Memorial Park officially. That's the name of the park. The parcel on the west side of the road was acquired by the town of Canandaigua. It was actually purchased from the estate. And it is a separate piece of property. That is the piece of property where the proposed playground is obviously being constructed. So the town board could absolutely, I believe, and we would want to, dot all the i's and cross all the t's and do this in the form of a resolution. But I just wanted to have a discussion without committing to anything here this evening. You could absolutely either name the park Motion Junction, if you're so inclined, I guess, or some other name, or specifically the playground. But just looking for a little direction from the town board relative to the naming situation. Then I want to talk to you about finances also.
Well, it sounds interesting to me to call, even if we called it Motion Junction at Outhouse Park, it just helps people know where it is and anchors it. But I like the Motion Junction name.
Yeah, I think it's great too. And I think that's a great idea, Linda. If there's any issues, that's a great way around it. But let us know what the legalities might be. And I'm for it. I think it's great. And it's a great tribute to your son. And I hope we can do other things to honor this and your great vision. So I'm excited. It's a great idea.
I really think it's a wonderful idea to work in your son's initials. I think that's a great tribute to him and to you. And it wouldn't be there if it weren't for him. So I really like that idea, Mike.
Yeah, I can't add anything new. I agree with everything that's been said, and it's a fantastic tribute. And I think as the mover and shaker behind all of this, you and your family deserve the right to make that decision and give the input. And we need to respect that, which we do.
I agree also that, come a long ways on this project, and so that you also should be making the decision on what you would like to have named, and I'm sure we can all agree with what you desire.
Okay, that's all we need for tonight in terms of that. But I want to talk to you about finances here briefly. And Mike and the team have been doing a great job. This is certainly not an inexpensive park. When all's said and done, this playground is about $1.5 million, maybe even north of $1.5 million. And I want to just talk to you about numbers and breakdowns here for a second. I'll come back to this in a second, this particular slide. But I just want you to be aware, so already to date, the town of Canandaigua has expended $68,744. That's mostly engineering related costs. Obviously, we're doing the engineering, we're doing the environmental, we're doing the subsurface construction costs. So I just want to be clear about this and make sure everybody's aware of that. We have additional cost. Jim has worked with Kate and Jim. Thank you so much. Jim has done a great job of putting together estimates. Some of it I know is general estimates like the electrical service costs and that kind of stuff, but at least to put together a budget with an estimated $272,000 in additional costs for the subsurface stuff. That would be cash, basically, the town of Canandaigua. And then about $60,000 in-kind labor contributions for a total investment of town of Canandaigua taxpayer dollars of about $400,000. That obviously would be coming from the Parks Fund. And there, as of today, there's about $650,000 in the Parks Fund. So let me pause there for a second. Does anybody have any questions on that? And then I want to talk to you a little bit more about finances. No? Okay. Jim provided the breakdown here and Kate kind of added everything together. There's We do have a proposal that if everybody is okay with, we'll advance next month from MRB. It's about $50,000, but it's all included in this, including all these items that have the little asterisk here, the seeker, the geotechnical, some of the subsurface, the water, the sewer, the drainage, electrical, all those different things, all total up that $272,000, and then the $60,000 in labor. I want to advance to the next slide here. So this park, this playground, so the town of Canandaigua, the $400,000 here, and then dream big or think big. They have about $1 million investment themselves that they've been working on. They've been working super, super hard, and the playground. The playground itself, the cost is $446,000. Mike, I know that you've raised to date $450,000, so you've already ordered the playground equipment, already advanced half of that. And then there's still a little bit of a budget gap with the surfacing and the building cost. But Mike, let me just pause there for a quick second. Do you want to touch base on the playground cost itself and kind of the fundraising?
Sure. So this, when we initially started, as you guys all recall, 3 years ago, when we first proposed this to you, it has changed about 11 times from what it was to what it is today. And some of the big contributors behind that is that it's going to be the first universally certified outdoor space in the United States, which that is coming from UB, which is their certificate holder for universal design and certifications, and they get the 5-year grant, and they've had it for 25 years. They've so kindly donated that at cost, which is in itself not a cheap venture. We've encountered, as everybody else has, some equipment inflation. The rubberized surfacing is inflated by about 20%. I spoke with him today and asked him to sharpen his pencil to maybe get another 10 or 15,000 off of that. We actually are at 456,000 in cash. We got $5,000 today. We're averaging about 15,000 a week in donations, cash donations coming in. We got 30,000 last week. So it's averaging out that we're going to be able to have the surfacing paid for hopefully by June, July. We're writing the check for the remaining portion of the equipment next week because we have the funds. So funds in, funds out. And then the building cost, we're working with a local contractor that's helping us so graciously to work with another contractor to get a portion of the pavilions and bathrooms donated. And then if we have to go to phase 2 with the pavilions, it's what we're going to have to do. It's not what we want to do, but we might have to entertain that thought. And I'm working closely with Doug on that in case that does become an opportunity. But we're pretty confident that based off of the funds that we have raised and what we have committed and the grants that we've written, we have over $500,000 in grants written. And the return rate on those is about 50% of what we write, we get. So it's been very forthcoming with the grant portion. So we're pretty confident that we'll have the $1 million with what we're working on by September. But if not, we'll go to plan 2, which I recall when we first started this, it was a 15-year project, and here we are 3 years and preparing to build it. And we wouldn't be here without the town. It's just Doug and the town board. I can't thank you enough. We can't thank you enough for your support, because it's the people that inspired us, that we were challenged to do the playground by. They're not even ordering equipment because they've encountered some opportunities with soil, and they've had to raise their budget by about $600,000, I believe, to get the soil right. So thank you for your support. We wouldn't be here without the town of Canandaigua and the leadership team.
And I think that, I think it's fair to say that the town cost for the construction, the subsurfacing. Jim, I don't know if you'd agree with me, but the costs are probably more than what we expected when we originally started this, as all the costs have gone up recently.
Correct. Pipe for water, pipe for storm, soil amenities for the bioswales, stone. I'm actually going to use gravel instead of crusher run to help save some cost for the town. We're doing as much as we can ourselves without going to an engineer to get the plans we need to get approvals for like sewer, electric, and water. So anything we can do in-house, we're trying to do to help save money, even though the town's paying for it. Allow the under the ground work.
So right now the cost is just about $1.5 million. Like I said, it might be a little bit north of that. As Mike said, the building cost itself, he's working on that. I know he's got some in-kind labor that's being donated by some local contractors, and they're doing everything they can to get the price down. I know that there's got a trucking company is donated moving the equipment. So, Mike's been on top and working every single angle he can. The one gap right now is, I think, the surface that they have, that 200 plus or minus $1,000. I know that I've got some meetings early in June with Mike to talk to some individuals, and we'll kind of see where we're at. Perhaps maybe the town board wants to have additional conversation about kind of pushing that over the finish line at some point, but maybe at this point, as we learn kind of some final numbers and we understand what's happening with some other stuff that we have going on, maybe we can revisit that, Linda, with the finance committee meeting maybe in June. Is that okay?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on the playground? I think that was it for. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop screen sharing on that. Michael, thank you. Mike, thank you so much for
Thanks,
everything.
Scott.
Okay. The other thing that I wanted to, my screen froze up. The other thing that I wanted to chat with you about, two other things. In the cannabis legislation, and I want to just touch base with the town board. We have a project team that reports to the Citizens Implementation Committee that you had created by resolution in early 2020, right before the pandemic. We had two project teams actually that were created by resolution. Number one being the Gateway Signage Team, number two being affordable housing. And the affordable housing project team has been meeting, and they really kind of have been talking about what it is that they would be working on in the scope of services. And it became clear that they're kind of interested in a lot of different avenues. They're very, very passionate. Jared, please feel free to jump in here and help me with this. I did ask Matt Horn for a proposal if they were to professionally guide us through Matt having experience with affordable housing in some other municipalities that he's worked. And Matt obviously works for MRB Group. They provided a $10,000 proposal for professional services, on-demand advisory services for affordable housing strategies. I'll get this to you, but I didn't just want to put this on the agenda because this is not a budgeted expense. So again, I just kind of want some direction. Is this something where the town board wants to take a deeper look at this? Would you want to consider a proposal? Do you want to have additional conversation? Again, just general, very general conversation here.
I think if I can speak to why that came up at the meeting.
Jared, can you come closer to your machine?
I'm sorry. At the meeting, there were several discussions about, we have to define what affordable is. That's really out of our realm to be able to do that, to make these definitions and put a number on something and really describe it. That's why we might need some outside input as far as guiding us in those beginning steps. Without that, we're kind of spinning our wheels. We're talking theoretically, and talking theoretically, we just can't narrow it down and make any progress or make any steps going forward.
So what you're saying is that you're not sure what grade of affordable that the town board wanted the team to look at, or what?
What we're saying is with this, when you're talking affordable housing, there are a bunch of, grades within that. You have subsidized, you have market rate, and then you just have affordable, what it is for area, different areas have different measures of affordability as well. So having that input guiding us, kind of leading us along in the beginning to focus us in on what's affordable for our area, what should we be focusing on, and how can we start to bring that in some of the development and some of the building that's happening.
Has Matt done this for other communities? Are you aware, Doug or
Yes.
Jared? Or?
He has actually done this, and MRB has provided this type of service. MRB's division on local government efficiency, smarter local government is what they call it. They've actually done this for other communities. I think Jared's microphone may have stopped working. It looked like Terry's microphone was picking up Jared when Jared was trying to talk for some reason. Sorry, Jared. But you're not muted, I promise. But yeah, they have done this type of service, and it's, we can, if you're interested in seeing the proposal, we can certainly advance that through one of the committees. But it just wanted some general direction because, like I said, there was nothing budgeted for this project team in terms of cost for this year. So this would be, if we go down this road, this proposal specifically was about $10,000. This would need to be a budget adjustment.
Can we have it brought to the committee on affordable housing with some references, so to speak, or places that have done it, and go from there? So leave it to you guys who are on that committee to let us know once you see that proposal and the references. I'm calling them references, but you know what I mean. Other places that have done it. So that's my suggestion.
Well, proposal would be, they would give us a proposal. We're not paying for the proposal. We'd be paying for.
Right. That's what my hope is, right? They're not going to.
It is. They've provided, and I just got this, but it's a 5-page proposal that talks about the scope of services that they would be providing for that, facilitating the meetings, leading the meetings, some additional services relative to grant work, a variety of different standard conditions associated with the proposal. But it was specific to lead the project team. That project team does not have a lead currently.
Okay.
Yeah, so is this coming through?
Well,
Yeah, you might have to get closer to your friend Terry.
Come on in here.
Terry, scooch on over.
Yeah. Not be too close.
So what I would add with that is, I like Kathy's idea that we can take it going forward. We can take it to the team and we can look at it and then see what the proposal is, see if it fits, and then if it's going to fit, send it back to the board. Because even within, we even had a great discussion about affordable home, you have affordable home renting and you have affordable home ownership, and there are great resources even within the county for that, for helping people with ownership of their homes, which is something that we really need to have as a focus of that. So we can do that at the next meeting. We can look at that and talk that over and see where we are on it. And then if the group agrees, I'm one of many, then we can put it forward to the board and have a discussion on it.
Sounds good.
Okay. And then the last topic was just the cannabis legislation. And Kathy, I didn't have anything specific other than just to have a conversation with the board kind of on what you want to do. If you're ready, I know I've heard from some of you that you'd like to go ahead and set a public hearing to hear from the public on opting out, and some maybe are still on the fence. But again, just kind of where you would like to go with this. Would you like to see a resolution to set a public hearing to begin the conversation? Would you like additional information first? Just again, general direction.
So I can tell you that I've done a tremendous amount of research about the law here, read the law, the cover, top to bottom, all zillion pages of it, and spoken to many people on this. There's a lot of information. I listened to a training today from NISAC on it, which I'll share that link with you guys. So I also spoke with Patty Salkin today, the person who did the podcast that you sent to us. I think we have to begin the conversation somehow. I've, being a lawyer and having done a lot of cases involving just cannabis in general, I don't know what other people know and don't know or are comfortable with. Would you like to see someone from maybe, I know the county is putting together a white paper on it. What would others like to see in terms of education? Are you comfortable with just having the law? I think there's time still to watch a lot of these presentations. What I've come away with is there's a lot of work to be done. Even the people, all sides of the fence are saying that there's a lot of work that needs to be done with figuring out how how licenses are going to be issued. The opt-in and opt-out doesn't refer to medical dispensaries, nor does it refer to growing operations. Doug, I had sent you an email today about certain regulations that would have to go into that as well. So there's a lot of work to be done. And I think trying to get it all done by the end of the year, or even for us to make a decision about where we want to go, is putting us under the gun. So I don't think it's any secret that I think we should opt out at this point, only because we can't opt out later, and that gives us time to figure out all the permutations of it. But I know a lot of people haven't made a decision yet, and I guess I'm curious to see how you would like, what information others feel they need in order to make that decision. Maybe we have a training for the town board specifically where different people.
Is there something like that available that you're aware of, Kathy? Some kind of a
I'm
training?
sure
Or also, how much guidance has the state really given regarding, this whole issue?
There's a lot of work to be done still, even with this training today from the people who are the experts in the field. They're quite clear that a lot of this is unknown. There's a lot of issues even with zoning. So I'm not aware of a particular training, but I'm sure I can find someone who would be willing to come in to answer all our questions. People are becoming experts now in this. And the more I read it, the more I'm learning. But I'm certainly not an expert. So maybe we can get someone, if I send the link, that link that I listened to today will be available in a day or two, and I'll send it to you guys. But it raises a whole, there's things that aren't even in the law as far as I can see. There are businesses which would deliver marijuana, which may not have even been contemplated, but those are working in other places. Does that qualify as a dispensary? Would that be a dispensary here that's delivering the marijuana? So I think there's a lot of questions. Can you have that without having a dispensary here? And when I say dispensary, I mean the non-medical dispensary, because that's a separate issue that you can't opt out of. It's just a different method by which it's brought. So the two things that you can opt out of are the smoking lounge, as we're calling it, adult use establishment, I think is the official word. And the other one is the adult use dispensary. So where you could go in and buy the product. Can't opt out of other things. There are all sorts of regulations. There's boards and all that, which, so I guess the question that I have for you guys is, I'd be willing to do a presentation on it, but I'm sure you'd want to hear from someone else that might have different feelings on it. And maybe just a training for the board, where I'm open to suggestions as well. And if you have any questions for me about the law as I know it right now, which changes, as I said, every day, my knowledge of it.
Well, I would have to confess I'm fairly ignorant in this area. I just don't know enough about it. I mean, bits and pieces I picked up from some of the things that we've been given. I listened to a podcast or I think that might be the same professor that you were just referencing.
Correct.
I listened to that a couple of weeks ago. She came at it from a land use perspective,
Right.
which I initially thought was kind of unusual, but after listening to what she had to say, it made a lot of sense. So,
I mean, that's really what it boils down to in the end. It is a land use, and with land use and zoning, and part of what she was talking about was the way they talked about it was time, place, and manner. Again, I could go into it forever, but I guess that's the point is which is really a First Amendment issue, which is generally used for adult use, adult entertainment establishments. There's a lot of zoning issues from a constitutional standpoint that have to be considered when you're talking about zoning. You can't zone out. If you're gonna have cannabis dispensaries and lounges, you can't have such restrictive zoning that you in effect zone it out of existence. So if we don't opt out, we're trying to figure out zoning, we have to be very careful not to zone it out of existence, which is why I think more time is needed to figure out before we, if we're going to decide to opt in. If you don't do anything, you're already opted in. There's also all sorts of other issues here in terms of, hemp is a separate issue. So CBD oil, hemp, that use the word hemp as if it's different from cannabis, but it's really not. Just a cannabis, different concentration. So it's a made up term. So I believe it's 0.03 nanograms per milliliter of THC makes it hemp. That's a portion, that's an amount of hemp that would, in theory, not make someone get high. So there are a lot of lotions and creams, et cetera, that you may have even seen it, even like TJ Maxx. Those are already being sold, and there are businesses that just do that. So that's a separate issue as well. So there are all these different things involved here that I think we really, and I know from my perspective, I'm spending a lot of my time on this, and I don't mind doing it, but I think there may be people available who could come in, and maybe not yet, because as I've even when I was speaking to Ms. Salkin today, from her perspective, I have a lot of criminal experience, and I have a lot of experience in terms of drug recognition experts and the criminal side of it. And we had a discussion about how so many different experts are coming together on this, and there's a lot to cover. So from my perspective, opting out gives us time, and when I say us, other than me at the end of the year, to figure out where we go with this. Which things are we more comfortable with than others? Even in places that have it, like Colorado, only 66% of the jurisdictions have opted out. So I think there's a lot to be learned from other jurisdictions that have this. And so I can try to find some people who might be willing to, we could join in on their, maybe it's having something for a lot of the other jurisdictions around at the same time, because I think everybody's going through this. Maybe we could do a joint training with specific questions on that. I know certain things that I know, for example, a drug recognition expert and what it takes to train and all the money that's going into that and how would it affect driving while ability impaired by marijuana or cannabis, or whatever you want to call it. So there's those issues as well. So what are your thoughts?
Go ahead.
That's it for me for
Well,
now.
I was just going to say, since this is a statewide issue, does the Association of Towns or any of those other organizations like that offer any kind of expertise or, deciphering what the state is talking about?
So they have been
some help
offering
and stuff
training,
like
which I've attended every one that I could put my hands on, and what I've learned is, as each training that I've gone to, the trainers are learning more. At first it was very little. So I think as time goes on, even they are talking amongst themselves to figure out what all of this means. Legislation is extensive, and I don't know if you've read it. Being a lawyer, I even find I have to do it like paragraph at a time and a page at a time. So I think as we get closer, I think there will be more training available. I think we have to start the discussion on it. And I will see what Association of Towns has. I assume we're not the only ones in this boat that need more information on it. As a practical matter, I don't think it's any secret that, I think opting out at the end of the year, from my perspective, is the prudent thing to do, because that gives you time to figure out which permutation, if any, the town would like to see in the future. You can opt back in January 1st if you opt out by the end of the year, but you cannot opt out unless you do so by the end of the year. And as I said, you're only opting out as to those two very specific things: the dispensaries, non-medical dispensaries, and smoking lounge. From my perspective, those are big decisions that you don't want to rush into.
Kathy, have you heard anything from the your fellow supervisors in the other communities in the county, what kind of discussion they may be having? Or-
I think a lot of people are waiting for an explanation of a lot of these laws. If you're not a lawyer and sitting down and reading the statute, it'll blow your mind trying to figure out what it all means. So I think a lot of places are looking for guidance. I mean, I know some places have probably already made up their minds one way or another, but I haven't heard particularly, local jurisdictions that they've made a decision what they're going to do. I've heard that different businesses are looking to open up in different areas, but it's going to be some time before that it can even happen anyway. We're not talking about, these things happening right away. There are licensing procedures that a dispensary has to go through, and you can't be a dispensary and a grower. Each one has to be separate, and there's all sorts of regulations within, as you could imagine, this will be a highly regulated industry. But to answer your question, I haven't heard specifically what anyone is going to do yet.
Okay.
So I will, if it's all right with you guys, as I said, I still think it's in the infancy stages in terms of what's available for training, but I'll look around and see, maybe we could put together a joint training with, Bloomfield and, Hopewell and, other towns around in the city if they're interested. I have a association of towns, the Western New York this Friday, and I will ask around at that as well. I mean, that might be something they might be willing to put something together. I'm sure they're working on it. I mean, associate accountants it is this weekend. This Friday, it's been a long week, guys. It's only one day. All right, that's all I have to say on that. Did you have something else that you wanted to discuss, or is that everything?
That was it. Just wanted you guys to have a conversation. So.
All right. We have our next privilege of the floor if anyone would like to be heard. I don't see anyone with a hand up at this time. I think we have executive session requested. Do we expect to come back and do anything when we return?
Nothing after executive session. If for the first executive session, in addition to the town attorney and myself, if we could include the highway superintendent, and then the town attorney and myself for the remainder, but no action after the executive sessions.
Okay, can I have a motion to move into executive session?
I saw someone, Ryan had his hand up.
Oh, I don't see his hand up in my screen. I just see Ryan's picture.
Oh,
Ryan,
well, maybe you took it down.
oh, there, it just went up again. Go ahead, Ryan. Did you want to be heard?
Yeah, hi, everybody. I guess just to reiterate on that last issue, it would be nice to hear the town board members on that discussion about cannabis. I know we heard from Terry, and I know we heard from Kathy, but I think it's such an important issue, especially with revenue that could come into the town and also the free market. If we can hear each of the town board members, I think that would be appropriate and responsible for the members. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're probably not at that point where we're gonna have a public hearing on it and an opportunity for everyone to be heard. And it's such a large issue that it's hard to take one position as to that whole legislation. So even if you opt out, which we'll go into this later, so I'm not gonna beat a dead horse, but we'll talk about that later. All right. Executive session, we have a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
I got it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, and it's as shown on the agenda, correct?
Yes.
Other than, as you said, highway superintendent and the person. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, Kathy.
All right, thank you. I'll take a motion for an adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everyone. See you next month.
All right.
Have a
thank
great night.